One of the things that's consistent throughout your life, and you indicate really carried you through some of the tougher times, is music. I was struck particularly by some of the experience you had after your accident. You jammed with one of Vienna's leading jazz musicians, and you played in a Bible church's choir in Ghana. I mean, it's a fascinating thing. Talk about that a little bit.
Music is just a gift. It's just one of the greatest gifts you can ever give yourself, and you can start now. It's like you don't have to. You can pick up a guitar and play Rolling Stones chords by the end of the week, and then it just keeps progressing. And the thing in Vienna, again, I was with my brother Andy. He was taking a sabbatical, and he doesn't get out a lot. And so I had to pry him out for one night, and like with his wife, I'm like, we just need to go out one night. And so we went to this club called Jazzland, which is kind of in the bowels of Vienna. And it's something like the Cavern, like you'd think the Cavern, the Beatles thing. It's one of these old wine cellars they turned into a jazz club. We go down there, and there's this guy up there named Oscar Klein, and he's playing this blues band, but he's a trumpet player, but playing this blues band, and they just kick ass. They're just absolutely fantastic. They've got this drummer that doesn't quit. And, everyone's hooting and hollering, place about, the size of this, club about the size of this. And they take a break, and I had to go to a bathroom. This is a funny bathroom story. It was down, this club was 24 steps down, so I had to get carried into it. The bathroom was another 6 steps below that, but once you got there, it was completely handicapped accessible. Completely accessible, it was just 30 steps down. But while someone was carrying me down, and meanwhile, my brother Andy, who was just like fearless, he just goes right up to Oscar Klein, and I am not privy to this, right? I'm in the bathroom, and he goes up to Oscar Klein, he said, "My brother is a great guitar player, he should play with you." And first of all, I play left-handed, I don't play right-handed. So I get up from the bathroom, and the guy, now my brother's sitting with the band. There's a bar next to where they're playing, and he's sitting with the band, yucking it up with the guy. And Oscar Klein looks at me and he goes, "Your brother says you can play guitar." And I'm like, "I'm left-handed." He goes, "I don't care." So they get me one of the guitars off stage, and when you're lefty, you learn a bunch of tricks righty. And it was blues. Blues is super easy. So I was like, "All right, I like this." And he goes, "You're coming up on stage with us." So right away, they hoist me up, and there was no room on the stage. We actually had to take one of my wheels off so I could lean up against something. And now I'm playing with this band. This is the best band I've ever played with in my life, and I'm playing upside down, so I don't have my full repertoire in with me, but we make it work. It's blues, we make it work. It's great. We have this amazing night. Get down. The punchline the next day is we go to a wine tasting with some of these doctors, and Andy goes, "Hey, we went to this jazz club last night, and Tom actually got up on stage and played with one of the guys." And one of the doctors was like, "Where did you go?" And he goes, "We went to Jazzland." And he's like, "Oh, well, Oscar Klein, you didn't play with Oscar Klein." And Andy's like, "Yeah, that's the guy's name, Oscar Klein." Ends up, he is the godfather of I was about to say Italian, of Austrian jazz. There's 2 guys in Austrian jazz. There's Joe Zawinul and there's Oscar Klein. So I was playing with not a Hall of Famer, but a legendary GOAT kind of musician. And I'm like, I'm just glad I didn't know at the time. And playing with the church band in Ghana was great. The productionist, I can't call her a production assistant. She has a PhD in physical therapy. Her name is Gifty Giante. And she was the one, while we're filming, she was setting up all these interviews for me. And this woman's insane. Like, she gets up at 4 a.m. To pray. And then she's a full professor, so she's teaching. She teaches all day. In the middle of the day, she has some time to herself, which she dedicated totally to me and our project. And then at the end, she's an elder in their church. So she goes to their church and does services till 9 o'clock. And she does this every single day. So one day she's like, "You need to come play with the church band." And I'm like, "Can I rehearse with them? I don't know any church songs." And she's like, "You'll be just fine," having never seen me play ever before. So I get there and church in Ghana, it's not an hour long, it's 4 hours long. So, and they're in Ghana, like what we consider like 9 o'clock, their 9 o'clock is 7 a.m. So you get to church at 7 a.m. And again, it was like 7 musicians. Let me see if I can do like this. Boom. Maybe that's better. So there's like 7 musicians, keyboard player, bass player, guys banging on instruments I've never seen before and things like this. And they were playing all this gospel music, and it's like the same kind of gospel music you'd hear here. And I just was like, the keyboard player was the guy leading it, and I just would be like, just tell me what key you're in so I can at least fake it. This went on for like 3 hours, and I wanted to play like, Ladysmith Black Mazamba. I wanted to play like African music. And finally they go through communion, and then after communion, the bass player just starts doing it. He starts doing that African, I can't call it African Paul Simon beat, but what you would think of on a Paul Simon album, starts doing that, and I'm like, oh, I got that. That's stuff I can play with. And the place goes ballistic, just goes absolutely crazy. Everyone gets up. They do a line dance, and this is like 400 people in a church. Women dressed to like, oh my God, not to the 9s, but to the 900s. Never seen more beautiful, elegant dress in my life. Men all in 3-piece suits and stuff. And they just did a line dance like they were at a disco. And in the band, we are cooking it. And we're just like, this is what I came to Africa to play. I really wanted to play this stuff. And it was just absolutely fantastic. And they stop because they've got another hour left of service. And I talked to the bass player. I'm like, let's play more of that. And he goes, no, that's for after. This is the best thing. That's for after communion when Jesus is inside of us. I'm like, that's when you pull out your African music, huh?